Cubs are so close to being top tier, a starter, a hitter, and a closer. I mean, it's not that far off, right? Like that's the issue that I'm having here. And at some point, you are what your record says you are. So I don't want to sit here and say you're. I don't want it to sound like we're overhyping this team because
Yeah,
it's definitely not what I'm trying to do. Right? We're not trying to sound like this team. It should be 10 games up in the division or something crazy like that. Not the case. It's just they're not that far off, and I don't think they're what the record shows. I don't.
no,
And that's the only point that I kind of keep coming to, or thought I keep coming to in my head, is like, you can't convince me that this team is that bad because, as we've said, the talent, individual talent, is fucking there. It
yeah,
is.
no, you're 100% right, and I agree with Scott. I think within that, the closer would be the most important. We were talking the other night. You need a ninth inning guy. You need the guy that comes out, the music's playing, it's over. You just know immediately that it's done. Like you need that guy, and I don't know if that's something that they do towards the deadline. You got to stay competitive to give opportunity to make moves to make this team better. So it starts now, like you said, turning this around.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I guess that kind of leads me to a question for you: is I kind of like what I've seen for the most part from Jeremiah Estrada, and I didn't want him to get thrust into that closer role immediately, and I still don't know if that's what I want. But what have you seen from him, or have you seen anything that you like so far? Because so far he's kind of proving himself mostly as
Yeah,
another option, and he's not your Edwin Diaz. Music comes on, lights
yeah.
go out, but
But he's a solution for right now, I think, and he's looked very confident out there, and that's one of the most important things. You have a lot of adrenaline running during those high intensity moments and high leverage spots, and if you can have a guy like that, just to at least not be Edwin Diaz level, but just at least give some solid, you know, strikeout guys and just wipe people out rather than you don't want your guy late in the game putting runners on at all. So you I've liked what I've seen from him. I think that he could be a solution. Do I think he's your long-term solution? I wouldn't necessarily want that. I would want them to go get exactly what Scott said, a starter, a hitter, and a closer, because I want to be top tier. And it sucks because if you look at the standings, you can see the teams that like are top tier and then the teams that aren't. And it's like, what's happening is, are they not spending enough on the team this year? And they're saying next year we're going to go, even more. And is that what, we're waiting for? And just this year, we're just going to wait it out and see. Maybe that's what's going on here. But it feels like they did build a good enough team to compete this year. I thought so coming in, looking at the roster. But right now, you do have questions like, should they have done more? And they could have definitely done more. They definitely could have done more. And it's frustrating. I don't know about you, man, but when they were building that sports book, I was like, they better shell out some cash on this team, because that's what I care about. I want to win another fucking championship. That's all I care about,
yeah.
And it's just this is not gonna do.
I mean, so I'm with you on that part of it. Like, it better go back into the baseball team, 100%.
Yeah.
Better go back to the baseball team. I think where I kind of, and I don't know if I don't disagree with you, but it's kind of like a slight difference in opinion, I guess, because I guess it could be the same thing. But I don't think that they really didn't spend. I thought they spent pretty much adequate money this off season for where they were at.
Sure.
I really do. But like you said, and I think they maybe were a little bit overly confident in what they brought in from the bullpen perspective. Like, I really think that they thought Michael Fulmer here, Brad Boxberger, Julian Merriweather, like some of these additions were going to really, and they weren't expecting the fall off of Keegan Thompson. They weren't,
Yeah.
it was like kind of a lack of preparation that way.
It's a good point.
And they need another bat, of course, but some of that I think they were hoping to get from within, which Morel has proven to be that, but then you have the untimely injuries too. So it's like balancing. Okay, Nico's down. Now he comes back. Belly's down. So it's like you've kind of always been missing. And then Seiya to start the season was down, and then he was still trying to get through the injury when he came back. So it's like always playing one man behind or two man behind.
Yeah, that's true.
You put together all these guys at one time, right? And with Mervis mashing potentially, right? Not to say we don't know when that's going to happen, but if you started the season with Morel too, that's another part of it. Like,
yeah,
there's some like slight adjustments where to me it's like, okay, I don't think they didn't really not spend adequate. Like, I don't think they underspent. I think maybe they just weren't as smart with the spending on who they spent it on, at least from like bullpen perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I agree with you. And when we came into it, we were pretty confident as well. We thought we'd get a lot better from Michael Fulmer and like Boxberger. I was really excited about. But I think you're right. I think they looked at these guys and they're like, this is going to be solid. But we did go into it with a couple like question marks because some of it was prove it stuff. And the problem with when you have prove it stuff, if they don't prove it, then you kind of have to look somewhere else. Like you said, getting Morel back, like now he didn't start the season with us, so it's like it's something that had to happen early on that should have happened maybe, but those holes can be filled. But when the guys that were supposed to prove it don't prove it, then you're rushing to fill those holes.
Dude, to your point too, Bellinger could have easily been a disaster, right?
Exactly.
It could have been. We didn't know. We had high hopes. We had no idea how that was going to turn out. So it was a gamble. Like, there was a lot of gambling done in the offseason and building sports books too. So I didn't really mean to tie that in there, but yeah, that can get thrown out there too. But there was a lot of gambling done on the roster as a whole. And I guess, yeah, to your point, like when that happens, some of them you're going to lose because it is a gamble. It's not a sure thing. Nothing really is ever, but
No. And like you could spend big money too. There's teams that do spend big money and then they get almost the same results as the Cubs. So it's like it's a happy medium. You like you said, the choices you make, maybe that's where this could be considered not so great. The Fulmer one for me, how did they not see this coming? Like they should have at least thought maybe this could happen. And if that was the case, it's tough. He was in a lot of high leverage roles for quite a while. So that just tells me that they were relying on him. They wanted him to be there. So it's like, did they do their research all the way? I don't know. It's tough. I'm not paid to do that, but it's not the question marks. Some of them are looking bad, but like you said, there are other ones that turned out really good. That's a gamble. Like Cody Bellinger, like you said, he's turned out really good so far. But it's like, it's tough, man, because I'd like to see them go get big name guys, and just like surefire things, but they don't always work out. So it looks like the way to win now is to build it within, really work with the guys, build them to what your team's going to be. And look at the Rays. I mean, it's like those are guys from in-house that they have brought up. They like made them exactly the way they wanted, and they're playing very in sync. Like they look like a team that is just playing all together as a team, like gears almost is like how I look at them. And the Cubs can totally be that. That's what's so frustrating. They could be the team where they're back-to-back hits and then you get the big bomb or, a double down the line. They got speed. They got some power. And it's like, I want to see them put it together. And I think they will put it together. I really do, man.